Hi, and welcome to the Bad Moon Cafe YouTube channel. I'm Steve.
And I'm Sean. And today we are going to be talking to you about Flesh and Blood. And we're going to be giving you an overview of the heroes in Flesh and Blood, their playstyles, and what you can expect by playing these heroes.
So whether you're new or looking to change your class or hero, hopefully this series will help you pick a new hero and class, or to get your first hero and class into the game and welcome and to the world of Wraith. That'll do.
Cool. Well, I guess in this video we're talking about Brute, which is my personal class. I opened a Scabskin Leathers in my first ever box of Welcome to Wraith, and that was November 2020, peak lockdown.
Yep.
And I've never looked back. So if you don't mind, I think I'm going to take the lead on this one.
Sure, go for it.
So class overview, ultimately they just care about big 6 power attacks.
So the joke is in Brute is that big number good. Yeah. Big number better than little number. Yeah.
It's an easy way to play, but there is an element of randomness.
I would say Brute is the meme class, but not in the sense of other games where it doesn't work. It's like, oh, it's a meme. It's not an actual real hero class system. Yeah. It's more that almost every Brute card, there's probably a meme for it somewhere on the internet, being like, like the South Park meme where you go, thanks for giving me your money, and it's gone. Yeah, that's your opponent's hand. Being like, oh, you had 4 cards in hand, and it's gone. Yeah, because it's
all about like coming in for just big hits and like big value hits as well, right? And being rewarded for playing 6 power cards, stacking your deck with just big 6 power or more. Yeah. Or buffed attacks.
That's the important thing for Brute is its keyword. Yeah. So Brute's keyword is Intimidate, which is thematically it's getting your opponent so scared to block that they have less ways to block or dodge or move out the way. So if we were to put this into a fight between a Brute and another hero, it'd be they're just so intimidating and scary to deal with that you didn't dodge in time, so you couldn't block all of it, or you didn't duck in time, you didn't put your shield up in time, and it's thematically that's Intimidate. And the way it works in the game is every time there's a trigger of Intimidate, your opponent banishes randomly one of the cards from their hand, puts it into their banish zone, face down, so you can't see it. And so then when it comes to the attack,
they can't use that one.
They can't use it. They have less ways to block. Yeah. At the end of the turn, though. End of your turn, they do get it back. Yeah. So there is
that opportunity for your opponent to hit you back. Yeah. So there's always the sort of threat that actually you, when you're facing a Brute player or a Brute hero, that you might have your entire hand intimidated. You might end up putting all 4 cards into the banish zone face down. You can't use them for block. But the one thing about the Brute class in general is that there aren't really any on-hit effects. So although you are being hit for upwards of 10, sometimes nearly 20, you might not actually, like, you're going to swing back, you're going to get your 4 cards back, and they're not presenting any on-hit effects. It's just raw damage.
Yeah, the issue with Brute heroes is that what's the punishment for being hit? Yeah. So...
Well, you're going to get hit back as a Brute player.
Yeah, it's what is the punishment for being hit? Does your equipment break? No. Okay, so fine. Do you discard any cards? No, because it's all been intimidated away, so it doesn't get discarded.
And cards either block for 3, which is great, or 0, which is
not even
rubbish. Or
the problem with
0.
The problem with nothing is it's not even 0, which would allow you to block. Yeah. It's a non-value, which means it can't actually go into the chain to block. Yeah. So if you had something like Art of War, which gives all your you can give all your blocking value +1. Yeah. It still doesn't work because it didn't have a 0 to get +1 on. Yeah. It just had nothing. Yeah. But these cards tend to be very strong. Yeah. You have Bear Fangs. Yeah. Which is 2 for 6, potentially 2 for 8. Yeah. Just off of itself.
Yeah.
So that's why it has no block value.
So like good value on that.
Yeah.
But so Rhinar.
The Rhinar.
Yeah. So Rhinar rewards you for, like we say, stacking your deck with 6 power attacks, and every time you discard a card with 6 or more power, you intimidate. So a lot of attacks, and we'll have a look, allow you to discard a card at random from your hand. If it's a 6 power card, then Rhinar's intimidate ability goes on the stack, and you'll be able to intimidate a card out of your opponent's hand.
So it's really important to know that in this game you can't just discard for the sake of discarding. You can't just go, I'm going to discard all these cards, and Rhinar will trigger. You need an attack or you need a card that forces you to discard. And one thing we do have to mention is some cards will say as an additional cost, and some will say you have to draw and discard. It's really important that you know the difference, because some cards don't trigger if it's discarded as an additional cost. If it's discarded not as additional cost, sorry. But Rhinar is
the OG,
the original. He wants to hit hard. His lore is actually like one of my favorites. Not just because I like the brute. It's written really well. You get a grasp of why he's so dangerous in the world. Non-spoilers, but he basically has sectioned out a part of the Savage Lands as his own, and no one else is allowed in. You know,
and the card art really reflects that. He's just like so protective over his patch of land. I guess almost like Shrek. Should we move on to Levia?
So Levia is one of the other brutes.
Came from Monarch, which was great.
She doesn't intimidate as much.
No.
But
I mean, she's at least as young. She comes across like, just a sub 20-year-old teenager.
She's not fully demonic yet. So her whole premise is that she wants to get cards into the discard pile as quick as possible, to then banish them into her banish zone, so that she can play these really, really strong attacks. Her, whilst Rhinar's average attack is around the 6 mark, hers is around closer to 7, 8.
9. And so, boards,
so she can get these. They're very cheap as well for what they are. And she's got a lot of 1 for 7s. But triggering them and getting them, because she has a lot of non-playable attacks that can't be used unless you banish 3 cards. If you've only got 2 there, you can't play it.
And the banish thing comes from the shadow side of her as well, right? So she has a talent as well as her brute class. She has the shadow talent, and that's all about banishing cards. But we're not going to go too deep into that.
So she's really good. She has these really good big attacks. But it's a lot slower. I kind of feel she's very mid game. In the mid game, she hits really hard because she has built up her discard pile. And then it's just going, cool, 1 for 6, go again, 1 for 7, go again.
Just going off. Okay, so let's have a look at some key cards. The one that all brute players will love until their dying day, Romp.
Blue Romp. So
why is it so good?
You want as many of your cards to be 6.
Yes.
Blue Romp just hits all of the nails on the head for brute. It blocks, which, as we mentioned earlier, is good for brute, because
blocks are free.
Brutes will have cards that don't. It's a 6 power, so if it's ever discarded at random, triggers, intimidates, triggers certain abilities that we'll talk about later, that cards that we need later, and it pitches for free. So it will pay for any card in your deck. So the Brute's cards rarely go, other than 1 for Levia, it will pay for any card Brute has access to. So it can't, and it's not expensive to play itself.
No.
So it's a 2-cost card for 6, which is, is the average for the game. Whereas red and yellow, it's you're getting 2 pitch instead of the 3, and that there's times where you'll play Brute and you'll wish you had 1 more. That's why you need Blue Romp. Because it is that free pitch.
And Brute players are, myself included, screaming out for more 6 power blue cards for Brute.
There is
because
one, and this is it.
The resources are just so sometimes difficult to come by. And you know, when Welcome to Wraith first came out, when I first got into Brute, it is really tempting to run, you know, the yellow because it now it hits for 7, or the red because now it hits for 8, and like it's really tempting to go for those higher numbers. But the recommendation is stick to 6. See how you get on. If it's coming in for 6 power, it's probably decent.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, hitting all the marks for Brute, but stick with those and then see. Maybe you can creep up to 7 here and there.
Yeah.
But fantastic card. We want to have 6 copies of Blue Wrecker Romp, but it's just not allowed.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, Brute should be allowed to cheat. No one's gonna pull up the Brute and be like, listen.
Exactly.
Right. This another staple in every Brute deck.
Yeah. The Bloodrush Bellow.
Yeah, combo deck. Where ones that will be running Mandible Claws, cards that have Go Again.
Yeah.
Bloodrush Bellow is for Rhinar, it covers all of the board.
Yeah.
For KO and Levia, it's still good.
Yeah.
1 cost action card. As an additional cost, you must discard a random card from your hand. That's why the blue is so good, I feel, for Wrecker, is if you've got 2 blue Wreckers in your hand, you'll pitch this to play this, discard the other one, you've triggered this, you still get 2 resources. But importantly, Bloodrush allows you to intimidate if you've discarded with Rhinar. All your Brute attacks for the rest of the turn are +2. And it draws you 2 cards if you draw a 6.
So it allows you to just go absolutely... it just allows you to really smash your opponent very hard.
Like an easy one is to pitch this, play Bloodrush, draw 2. Your first Mandible Claw, if you're running the claws as your weapon, is for 5 Go Again. Straight off the bat. Which you then have 2 cards in hand, minimum. Now you can play the next one. So there's no downside to this card. It counters. There's a lot of cards in Brute which say, if you've intimidated this turn, or if you've discarded the 6 this turn, you gain this ability. And this just is the great.
It turns
setup.
it all on. Like your best cards, or rather your best turns as a Brute player, will most likely feature a Bloodrush Bellow. I feel like every time you have a Bloodrush Bellow, if your opponent can get you to block with a Bloodrush Bellow, feels bad, man. You know. So we've seen 2 cards now that allow you to discard them as additional cost. But, and maybe there's a reward for those additional costs or discards. But Massacre is really up there, right? As one that you don't even want to play it.
No. Free for 6 is really bad value in this game. Free cost. So pitching blue for 6 in Brute is not great.
No.
But it has the ability that if it's discarded to pay the additional cost, and this is what we said earlier about the difference between drawing and discarding versus an additional cost. It then triggers Intimidate again. So if you're intimidating this card, you're discarding this card after playing an attack action that needs you to discard another card. As Rhinar, that's 2 Intimidate triggers just off itself. Your opponent now has 2 cards left. So if you've intimidated the defense reaction, I had it a couple weeks ago where my opponent every turn I just kept intimidating my opponent's defense reactions out their hand. And they were having to block with their attacks. And then they would draw back up and go, cool, pass. I can't do anything. It's like, cool, and then do it again. And then it's just that Massacre is really effective.
Brute chef kiss.
It's
for sure.
But it also has it has 2 abilities, and I think the first one, if you can play around it, is also really good.
I love this in Arsenal.
I
actually really enjoy this. Fair enough, like we said, the 3 cost for 6 isn't great, but sticking this in Arsenal, and it then rewards you for if you have discarded a card with 6 or more power this turn. So off the back of the Bloodrush Bellow, you play this from Arsenal, and now it's intimidating when you play it, and it's getting +2. So now it's a 3 cost for 8, and it's intimidating. Like the value, it chops and changes with Massacre, but
you never feel bad for discarding it off an attack. And you feel even better if you've managed to set it up.
It rewards you. If only it pitched for a little bit more, then had that extra value. But maybe we're asking too much.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
Yeah.
Another card that loves to
one
be
that does
discarded.
pitch for 2.
Yes, it does pitch for 2, and it also loves to be discarded.
The amount of brute players this is killed.
Yes.
So
for sure.
Brute, what we were saying about it being meme is the fact that it can
sometimes
hurt you. So Beast Within is another card, 6 power card that you don't really want to play. You want it to be discarded. Because if you discard it, you reveal the top card of your deck, you banish it. If it's a 6, it now goes to your hand.
And you lose a life.
And you lose 1 life. I've seen players lose upwards of 11.
Really?
Yeah.
I lost 5, I think, about 2 Armory nights ago.
So it keeps looking for it keeps banishing the top card of your deck until you reveal a 6. And you take 1 damage for every card you've revealed.
Yeah.
So if it takes 3 cards for you to find a 6, you take 3 damage and you banish those cards.
Yeah.
It's very painful if it goes wrong, because you could banish your Blood Rushes, your Barraging, your big swing bigs. Your swing big will go to hand, but your big attacks, big non-attacks you want. Your high rollers. But there's times where you'll get it and it will give you straight away a blue wrecker, and you're like, sweet, I can afford everything this turn.
Well, the idea is then you reveal a card, and it goes into your hand. That it can allow you to afford more things on that turn, or it just gives you an attack that can just go straight into your arsenal at the end of your turn, and you're sitting very, very nicely. The
fun thing about this card with Icelander is if she says pay 2 or discard, and you're like, okay, I've got enough resources, I could pitch this and pay the 2. What you can instead do, if it says pay 2 or discard, if it's your turn, discard the Beast Within, banish the top card. If it's a 6, you get it to hand, and you've still kept your cards in hand. Whereas paying the 2, you're not taking the damage, but you're not keeping the game in your favor. Especially as Rhinar as well, if they do it in your turn and you still haven't attacked yet, you then discard this, get your attacks. They then have to intimidate. And then you're like, right, well, it's still my go. And now I'm going to hit you. Now I'm going to hit you in.
So good.
It's just a good staple. Even if you're not running that many discards, it blocks, it pitches, it's still a 6 power, so it has value throughout the whole thing.
And it also works with Levia as well. Levia's looking to banish 6 power cards.
If Levia's not able to banish any cards from her discard pile into her banish zone that turn that are 6s, you could try to discard your Beast Within. It will then look for a 6. It then puts a 6 in your banish zone. It turns off your Blood Debt for the turn. But it's just an overall really good card. Last brute card on the list.
Absolutely. So Barraging Beatdown, an absolute staple for brute. So coming in for 4 or +4.
Red is +4, yellow is +3, 2 is +2. But it's interesting how it works, because it
intimidates off its back.
So
costs 0.
Your opponent's down to 3 cards. We were talking earlier about how there's no on-hits. So realistically, if you do get your hand intimidated, do you really care about blocking? Barraging then kind of helps out.
Incentivizes blocking.
So if your opponent doesn't block with 2 cards, so let's say this is their 2 cards and this is blocking with 2. If they don't do that, or block with a defense reaction from Arsenal, the attack gets bigger. So it's to kind of push your opponent to say, I've got 2 cards in hand, you've intimidated 2 cards, do I care about this? It's like, well, suddenly the difference between hitting for 6 and now 10, in a game where 40 health is your max, you don't really want to be going, okay, I'm now taking 10 damage. How much do I do back?
So it kind of opens up that ability to be like a bit of more of a control brute, doesn't it? Like running a lot of these and just stacking them into just your club swings, for instance.
A lot of players will run the blues.
The
blue is really good.
Blue goes
pitch. Pitch. Intimidates, it pitches. Same as high roller. Difference between this and high roller is high roller only intimidates. This then gives you that reason to hit over your normal standardized numbers.
And then another one that just a generic card that just works fairly well in Brute.
So as we mentioned about on hits, your opponent will judge how much damage is coming in. They'll look if they've got any cards left and say, do I care?
Yeah.
Do I care about this 6 damage, this 8 damage? Do I really want to be blocking with this? How much can I do back?
Damage.
Yeah, it's just damage.
Yeah.
If they choose not to block and they've kept their cards in hand, Pummel is punishing. It's red is +4.
And it finally gives Brutes an on hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a reason for them to say,
damn.
Yeah,
I should have blocked.
Yeah, should have blocked. Especially if they're down to 1 card. If you banish 3, they keep, in certain heroes. It was like, this is my resource card. That's why I couldn't block with it. This is the blue I need to pay for my entire turn.
Yeah.
And you play Pummel, and now it's discarded. They draw up, and they can't afford their turn.
Yeah.
So they just Arsenal.
Fantastic.
So yeah, that is Brute.
That wraps up Brute,
Angry,
my favourite class.
Angry player. Angry who just wants to keep hitting.
Yeah. Just smash face.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great fun. It's great fun. And you can control a lot of that, random element. It's not just roll the dice, see what you get, although that's what some of the cards read as. There is a way of, what you block with in order to make sure that you can trigger certain abilities and make sure actually you are only left with the Massacre to discard, or you are only left with the Beast Within to discard. So there's a way of controlling that random element.
Yeah, most of the time it's not so random.
Exactly. It just looks random.
Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. So like and subscribe if you did.
And let us know in the comments below if you enjoyed this video, particularly if this class or any of the heroes that we spoke about resonate with you, and if you have any stories from playing with or against this class.
Also, every Monday, 7 p.m. kickoff, we do our armories at Bad Moon. So come down and play if you want to be part of the London community, or if you're just in London on the day, bring a deck and sign up at the tilt, and you will kick off at 7 p.m. every Monday. Enjoy!